My name is Ghostboy259, and I played Koa in the Five Pirates of Mara. Koa and the Five Pirates is a game developed by Chibig, and they've created a few games all with similar looks and style, but they all play very differently. By looking at the game's trailer, you'd immediately think the game was primarily platforming, and while it mostly is that, there is a little bit more hidden beneath the surface. If you want to watch me play through this game for the first time, you can go to youtube.com/realityescapeplays and watch that. If you want to watch me live while I record the footage for these videos, you can head to twitch.tv/ghostboy259. If you want to support my channel via Patreon or hang out in my Discord to recommend me games, all the links are at realityescape.ca. And while you're at it, feel free to subscribe for more videos on games you've maybe never heard of. Koa and Napopo are a duo looking to recover and rebuild their home island, of which everything has been stolen by pirates, seemingly directed by this cat lady in order to persuade Koa to join a race or something like that. The start of the game is very slow. They're constantly throwing information at you, very little which seems necessary to the game. There's a really funny review on Steam that just says, "Did I miss a game in the series or something? How does everyone know each other?" I thought it was a weird joke at first, but once you get in the game, it really feels like you're walking into an already established narrative, like you're in the second chapter of a book, and it can be hard to keep up. I think all the games are in the same universe perhaps, but there's no indication of that when I bought the game separately. There's a lot of story dialogue that keeps you away from the gameplay, so much so that at some points I was just trying to leave this island to go do the next thing, and people were stopping me to tell me things, and it was actually frustrating me quite a bit. That being said, the gameplay part is actually quite fun, and there's a few different ways that you can tackle it. The way to progress in the game is to reach the end of levels, unlocking the next level until you finish the island, which is usually ended by some sort of boss stage, where the rules are just a little bit different. It's like a race or an auto-scrolling level. In the maps, there are 3 collectibles. These are mostly just to unlock clothing options or upgrades to your boat, and there's shells which are used to buy things that once you've actually unlocked it, you have to pay for it, so it's just cosmetic stuff. Unlike a traditional game of the genre, say like a Crash Bandicoot or something, these shells are not like attached to the levels, they respawn, so you can technically just grind for them if you want. There's no rewards for 100%ing these levels and getting everything, which is kind of an odd choice for this genre of game. But the 3 unique items are not respawning, they're unique to each island, so you still get that sense of completion because sometimes they're a little hidden off the beaten path. You have to go look for them to make sure you get all of them. The other thing you can do is get medals, depending on how fast you beat the stage. There will be a gold, silver, and bronze medal for each level, and so it incentivizes you to do the stage twice, or sometimes 3 or 4 times after you've gotten the collectibles, just to see how fast you can finish the stage. And the medals will also unlock more things to buy. I quite like this, not necessarily, the medals unlocking more cosmetic stuff, that's whatever, but at least it adds some layers to each level, trying to do it at a decent time, learning the quick ways around. And I will always be in favor for devs who add anything like this for speedrunners. There's even a leaderboard built within the games. You can actually see where you're at, and unfortunately all the top scores are glitched, but you can kind of see where the real times start. And it's really cool to say where the top 50 is and shoot for that time. I don't want to brag or anything, but I have a top 50 time in one of these maps. I'm putting that on my resume. Again, it's not going to make the game more fun or give you some grand reward, but if you're enjoying the gameplay, then you'll have plenty to do. You don't have to do everything in one go. You can continue to play the game to get your collectibles and then replay to get your time. You'll probably have to. And this adds a lot of longevity and replayability to the game, depending on what your goals are. The speedrunning sections will not be everyone's cup of tea, and that's completely fine. I initially started out with the idea of golding every level, but I opted out after a while. And the levels are still hard enough that they may take you 5 to 10 minutes to get all the collectibles and beat it on your first try if you're garbage at video games like I am. So even if you skip the medal system entirely, there is still a game to be played here. I'm sure it would feel a lot shorter without it, but there's no shortage of levels. There's 8 islands in total. Each island has multiple levels, like 6, 7, 8, something like that. so there's plenty of time to be had jumping around before you reach the end. And if you comment something about me saying 6-7 right there, I will ban you from my life. The mechanics are actually very simple. You can walk forward, which is extremely slow and actually frustratingly so, to the point where it actually made me angry for some reason, but it's done so you pretty much have to rely on the other mechanics. You can throw things, usually it's to hit buttons. There's no enemies or anything trying to hit you. There's a ground pound, which again is just to hit buttons in a different way. And then there's the jump. There will be one other button on the controller you use. It's originally X on the Xbox controller, but I remapped it to left trigger because it made it more like playing Mario 64 on emulator. And this is basically how you do anything. You hold it to run, which is still pretty slow, and honestly this should just be the default running speed. When you jump and hold the button, you'll roll, which is much faster than running, and you can destroy boxes by doing this. And if you jump out of the roll, you have a much longer jump. And of course, if you press the button just before landing from the jump, you'll land in a roll, and you can do this again and again and again. And this is pretty much the only movement mechanic in the entire game. There's no double jump, there's no swinging from ropes, there's no sliding, there's no wall jumps, nothing like that. You can walk, run, jump, roll, and jump out of a roll. If you like this mechanic, you will like this game. The levels are at most basic. There's no enemies, like I said. Sometimes there's lasers or spikes to avoid, but for the most part, the game is built around using this jumping and rolling mechanic. Sometimes gaps are just spread apart enough that if you don't time it perfectly, you'll fall through the cracks if you're trying to go too fast. Or when you restart a level, the platforms don't always start in the same position, so then you'll have to kind of navigate around and make sure that the platform is in the right area that you need it to be. And if you don't like this movement, I'm sorry to say that's pretty much all there is for you in this game. Personally, I didn't mind it. I liked the challenge of how hard it was. It's a little harder than your standard platformer because you can't just press A to jump and be done with it. You have to think a lot about what you're doing. When it comes to the timing and the combos of the buttons, it's definitely a skill that you have to kind of get down packed and commit it to memory, because when things are panicking, it's kind of hard to think all at once. However, there are a few times where it is too hard to be precise. There's a few moments where the game is just begging for a darker shadow under Koa so you can tell where you are, because the perspective is a bit wonky. And in some levels, you'll fall into water and bounce up, but in others, a fall means death and restarting to the last checkpoint, or sometimes the beginning of the game. So sometimes the more annoying parts are also way more costly, and they frustrate you to no end. That being said, when you can get into a groove and it feels good, it feels really good. It feels like you've mastered this complicated system, that everything is flowing and you don't have to think about it because everything becomes instinctual. The game wouldn't necessarily work with a double jump because the game was not designed to have a double jump, and this is really where the challenge comes in. Although sometimes there's a difference between a challenge and annoying level design, and this game is constantly towing that line. The game also has what's called a relaxed mode, which it will annoyingly offer to turn on for you if you fail a level enough times. And from what I understand, I think it's just more checkpoints. When you fail or die, you have to restart from the beginning, and it doesn't reset the time for some reason, even though it just makes sense. If you haven't even hit the first checkpoint yet, I don't know why it just doesn't restart the entire level, but then you have to just restart it anyways. And so I got the habit of doing such because I was always trying to go for the best time possible. But when you die, it sets you back to a checkpoint. No matter where you are, restart just restarts the whole run. Restart doesn't actually send you to the last checkpoint, and I definitely found this out on the final stage of the game, which was a very fun experience. The story is definitely very busy and complicated, none of which is really explained, and unfortunately, I'm sure there's a good story buried in there somewhere, but it just wasn't for me personally. At first you think the pirates are evil, it turns out they're all your friend and really nice, except for some of them which try to kill you upon seeing you. And then you have to rebuild the city because this cat person stole everything and gave it to the pirates for their trials, but also they want everything rebuilt, and some people are romancing other people, and this elderly lady mentions 6 people, none of whom I know or ever meet, and it's just a little too complicated. The longer I played, I found myself just skipping most of the dialogue, and I just found it more annoying than anything else, and it's not necessarily a disservice to the game. The story wasn't my thing. I wanted to keep playing the game part, and unfortunately it just lacks a really strong foundation, which that foundation may very well be established in the other games, but there's no indication that that's the case. And the slow dialogue is just a stark contrast from the constant high-paced action of the gameplay. It's very jarring. In general, the tone of the game is very odd. Like, it's very cutesy and fun and lighthearted, but then the gameplay is really hard. Even if you're not doing the speedrunning stuff, you'll definitely get stuck at a few parts on a casual playthrough, which is just so opposite of the tone. So on one hand, don't judge a book by its cover, but on the other hand, don't be deceived by the looks alone. If you're not an expert platformer, you may have some difficulty. I'm not saying it's the aesthetic of Animal Crossing with the difficulty of Doom by any means, but it's just another one of those things about this game where it just feels like two very separate experiences. Beyond the regular courses, there's a few other things to do. There's races where the cat girl and her friends will race you. You pretty much leave them in the dust right away, and then you stop seeing them after a few seconds. But what this made me realize is a platforming racing game would be super fun, like Fall Guys, but with legitimate platforming mechanics like Mario 64. Please, someone let me know if this exists, and if it doesn't, could you just like do me a favor and make that for me so I can play that with my friends? Just like parkour racing with smooth moving mechanics and lots of jumps and climbing and things to avoid, like speedrunners, but 3D basically. Someone make that for me, thanks. There's also underwater sections, and wow, I try not to use this word when I'm, talking about indie games. I hate this so much. I already hate most underwater sections in games, but boy, I really hated this. It is a lot of getting lost, really tight corners to squeeze in that is very hard to control precisely. And holy smokes, Koa makes a noise literally anytime you do anything, and it gets so irritating so fast. The other part of the game is this boat section. It's just traveling from level to level, but there's whirlpools for some reason, and you have to go around these rocks, which, adds a few seconds. It's very unnecessary feeling. There's no challenge whatsoever. It's just to waste a few seconds of your time. There's barrels and things to collect for completion purposes, which I don't mind, and I guess there's boat upgrades that I didn't do, which I can't imagine what you would need to upgrade it for. I don't know if everything is cosmetic or what. Maybe there's a way to unlock more levels, but I didn't see anything about that. The strength of the game is truly the platforming sections, and even admittedly, it's nothing mind-blowing. There's a few gimmicks scattered around, like platforms that switch on and off every time you jump, or these ones that just vanish and reappear on a set timer, although these are a bit annoying because you can practically stand and jump off of them when they're completely invisible. So even visually, it's not the best indicator, and it's just one of those things where you find yourself wanting to get mad at the game instead of blaming your own skill, when it could very well just be a combination of both. But beyond what I think is a really decent platformer, everything else just feels noisy and distracting. But at its core, I think there is fun to be had, although it can often be a frustrating fun. I bought the game on sale in a bundle. Unless you are 100% gonna speed run this, or like 100% the game before you buy it, I don't think I would go for it at full price, but if you like platforming, speedrunning, competing on their leaderboards, I think it's worth a pickup. If you're looking for something with a bit of a challenge, a bit of a laid-back, easygoing, non-stakes story, and some admittedly very fun speedrun challenges at times, if you can bring yourself to do them, through a very unique way of exploring the maps, then I think you'd have fun with this game. But alas, my name is Ghostboy259, and I played Koa and the 5 Pirates of Mara. Next time, I'll play something else. Thanks for watching.